Alright, listen up. If your life is a mess, if you're broke, lonely, or stuck in a dead-end job, I've got a revelation for you. It's your fault. Yeah, I said it. It's your fault. But don't start crying just yet, because if you're the problem, that means you're also the solution. That's the beauty of Florence Scovel Shinn's The Game of Life and How to Play It. This book doesn't just call you out on your self-sabotaging nonsense, it hands you the rulebook for winning at life. But first, you need to accept one thing. Life is a game, and right now, you're playing it like a clueless amateur. Introduction. Before we dive into the mind-blowing insights from this book, let's talk about the genius behind it, Florence Scovel Shinn. Now, Florence wasn't your typical self-help guru. She wasn't some privileged silver spoon in her mouth type, handing out wisdom from a mansion. No, she was an artist, an illustrator, a woman who got kicked in the teeth by life, divorced, struggling, figuring things out the hard way, and then she cracked the code. She realized life wasn't a chaotic mess of luck and misfortune. It was a game, a structured, predictable game with rules, and most people were losing simply because they didn't know them. So what did she do? She wrote a book in 1925 that turned the world upside down, influencing people like Louise Hay, Norman Vincent Peale, and countless others who went on to shape modern self-help. And nearly 100 years later, her words still slap. Why? Because they're brutally honest, uncomfortably true, and dangerously effective. Her core idea, your thoughts, words, and beliefs create your reality. Say something enough times, believe it deep enough, and it manifests. She wasn't just talking about wishful thinking, she was handing out spiritual cheat codes to life. And guess what? They still work. Alright, now that you're intrigued, or maybe just irritated because I called you out, let's break down how to actually play this game and win. Welcome to Mindful Reads Hub. Let's get started. Chapter 1. The Game. Most of you are playing life like it's some brutal survival game. Always on edge, always struggling, always convinced that the universe is out to get you. You think life is a battle, a war, a grind, but Florence Scovel Shinn is here to smack that nonsense right out of your head. Life isn't a battle, it's a game. And not just any game, a spiritual game with clear-cut rules, predictable outcomes, and a scoreboard that reflects every single thought, word, and action you put out into the world. Now, here's the kicker. You've been playing it all wrong. You weren't handed an instruction manual at birth, so you're just out here winging it, reacting to whatever life throws at you, complaining when things don't go your way, and wondering why you keep getting the same crappy results. Meanwhile, the real players, the ones who know the game's rules, are out here winning, not because they're lucky, but because they're intentional. Florence makes it clear, this game has one fundamental law: what you put out, you get back. That's it. Simple, right? Except most people refuse to accept it. You think life is random? Nope. Everything happening to you right now, your financial struggles, your relationship problems, your job situation, is a direct reflection of what you've been thinking, believing, and saying. You hate your job? You created that. Your love life is a disaster. You did that too. Money never sticks around. Guess who's responsible? You. You are not a victim of circumstance. You are a creator. And the sooner you accept that, the sooner you can start winning. Florence backs this up with scripture, pulling from both the Old and New Testaments. Whatsoever a man soweth, that shall he also reap. Translation: your life is a mirror of what you put into it. You give out criticism, you get criticized. You give out fear, you get things to be afraid of. You walk around expecting failure, and, surprise, you fail. But let's flip that. You give out love, you receive love. You walk around expecting success, and suddenly opportunities start falling into your lap. You decide that money comes to you easily, and out of nowhere, it does. Sound like magic? It is. But it's not some woo-woo mystical nonsense. It's the law of the game. Florence shares a case study of a man who literally fought himself into an early grave. He became obsessed with a rare disease. Read about it, thought about it, talked about it, feared it into existence. Guess what happened? He manifested it and died. That's how powerful your thoughts are. You are constantly creating, either building yourself up or tearing yourself down. So, what's the lesson here? Your mind is the ultimate game controller. The images you hold in your mind become your reality. She calls it the scissors of the mind. Your imagination is constantly cutting out the scenes of your life and pasting them into your reality. If you don't like your life, you don't change it by working harder, complaining, or waiting for a miracle. You change the freaking picture in your mind. Most people's problem? You've got the wrong picture. You focus on what you don't want. I don't want to be broke. Guess what? Your subconscious doesn't hear don't, it hears broke. And that's exactly what it delivers. You're out here screaming, I don't want to be single forever, and all the universe hears is single forever. Congratulations, you played yourself. The only way to win, rewire your thinking. Every single thought, word, and belief has to align with the life you actually want. Not the one you're settling for, not the one you're afraid of, but the one you deserve. One of Florence's students tested this and absolutely crushed it. She needed work, badly. So Florence gave her this affirmation: I have a wonderful work. In a wonderful way, I give wonderful service for wonderful pay. She repeated it, felt it, believed it, and guess what? She didn't just get a job, she got the perfect job, doing what she loved, getting paid what she was worth. Another guy tried the same technique but swapped work for business, and suddenly he landed a $41,000 deal after months of nothing. Coincidence? No, that's the game working. The key takeaway: your words, thoughts, and beliefs are literally programming your future. If you don't like what's happening in your life, change the damn programming. If you want to stay stuck, fine. Keep thinking small, doubting yourself, and making excuses. But if you want to win, learn the rules, play the game, and watch life start working for you. Chapter 2, the law of prosperity. If you're broke, struggling, and always complaining that money just doesn't seem to come to you, let me hit you with some harsh truth. It's not money that's the problem, it's you. You are the one blocking your own prosperity, and this chapter is about to tell you exactly how you've been shooting yourself in the financial foot every single day. Florence doesn't waste time sugarcoating it. She lays down the law of prosperity like it's the most obvious thing in the world. God is your supply. Listen to that again. Your job isn't your supply. The economy isn't your supply. Your weak little paycheck isn't your supply. God is. And if you're living in lack, it's because you refuse to believe it. Let's talk about the spoken word, because Florence makes it painfully clear that what comes out of your mouth dictates what shows up in your bank account. If you're always saying, I can't afford that, or money's tight, congratulations. You just placed an order with the universe for more struggle. Isaiah said, my word shall not return unto me void. Translation: whatever you say, you get. She gives a brilliant example of a woman who is about to be sued for $3,000. The woman had no clue where she was going to get the money, and panic was setting in. Florence? She wasn't fazed. She told the woman to act like she already had the money. She even told her to go out and have a fancy lunch, spending with faith, not fear. What happened? The next day, a long-lost cousin showed up out of nowhere and handed her the exact $3,000 she needed. Coincidence? No. That's the law of prosperity in action. Most people live in financial fear. They hoard money, they hesitate to spend, they hold on so tightly that the universe has no room to give them more. Florence gives another example of a man who wanted a fur-lined coat. He could technically afford it, but his rational mind kept screaming, be practical. Florence would have none of that nonsense. The man bought the coat, stepped into the feeling of wealth, and soon after landed a $10,000 commission. Do you see the pattern here? You don't wait until you're rich to start acting like you are. You start acting rich now, and the universe adjusts accordingly. Here's the problem. Most people are financial hypochondriacs. They are constantly worried about money, constantly talking about what they don't have, and money runs from them like they have the plague. Florence shares a brutal example of a woman who used to joke about getting ready for the poorhouse. Guess where she ended up? Exactly. The subconscious doesn't understand jokes. It just follows orders. She also warns about people who think prosperity but act in fear. Like the woman who wanted to buy Christmas gifts but held back, worried she wouldn't have enough money later. Florence told her to go ahead and spend with faith. She did. A few days later, she received several hundred unexpected dollars. That's how it works. You have to show the universe that you trust it before it gives you more. The biggest mistake? Thinking money is something separate from you, something outside of you that you have to chase. Nope. Money is an energy, and you attract it or repel it with your beliefs. If you're out here hustling, grinding, struggling, and nothing is working, it's because you're still mentally broke. You can't just want money, you have to expect it. Demand it. Act like it's already yours, not in a fake it till you make it way, but in a deep, unwavering certainty kind of way. Florence sums it up beautifully. It is man's divine right to have plenty, more than enough. His barns should be full, and his cup should flow over. If your cup is dry, it's because you keep tipping it over with doubt, fear, and lack mentality. Key takeaway. If you want more money, stop talking about lack, stop acting in fear, and stop seeing money as something hard to get. Step into the mindset that wealth is already yours, and life will move heaven and earth to prove you right. Chapter 3. The Power of the Word. Let's get something straight. You talk too much, and worse, you don't even realize that every word coming out of your mouth is either creating your dream life or completely wrecking it. Florence doesn't waste time with pleasantries here. She lays it out plain and simple. Words are spells. Everything you say, whether it's a passing joke, an I can't, or an offhand complaint, is a command. And guess what? The universe is always listening. You think you're just venting when you say, I never catch a break. Nope. You just signed an invisible contract with reality guaranteeing that you'll never catch a break. You joke about being forever single, and now your love life is a desert where even cacti don't survive. You keep saying, I'm bad with money, and surprise, your bank account is in a constant state of distress. Florence backs this up with scripture because this isn't some new age fluff. This is ancient, time-tested truth. By thy words thou shalt be justified, and by thy words thou shalt be condemned. Translation: your words are either putting you on the throne or sending you straight to rock bottom. She gives a brutal example. A man once told her, I always miss my train. And you know what? He always did. Meanwhile, his daughter, with the exact opposite mindset, always caught her train at the perfect time. Same family, same circumstances, totally different results because of the words they spoke. So here's the million-dollar question. What dumb things are you saying that are keeping you stuck? Florence shares another example of two businessmen who had been thriving for months until suddenly everything fell apart. When she dug deeper, she found out why. They had started carrying lucky monkeys in their pockets, trusting in superstition instead of the power of their words. She told them to throw those monkeys into the trash where they belonged and start affirming their success again. They did, and boom, their businesses turned around. Let's talk about affirmations, because Florence hammers this point hard. You must be ridiculously intentional with your words. The reason most people fail at affirmations, they say them without conviction. You can't just mumble, I am successful, while internally freaking out about your overdue bills. That's like whispering, I'm safe, while standing in front of an oncoming train. The subconscious isn't stupid, it follows belief, not empty words. One of her students took an affirmation and ran with it. I have a wonderful work, in a wonderful way, I give wonderful service, for wonderful pay. She repeated it like a mantra, sang it, breathed it, lived it, and guess what? She got an amazing job, with amazing pay, doing amazing work. Another guy did the same thing, but swapped work for business. That afternoon, he closed a $41,000 deal after months of nothing. Coincidence? No. That's the power of the word. But let's be real. Most people mess this up. They pray for abundance and then complain about bills in the next breath. They affirm love and then rant about how all men are trash or good women don't exist. You can't talk out of both sides of your mouth and expect life to reward you. Your words need to align 100% with what you want. No contradictions, no buts, no, I hope this works. Florence tells the story of a woman who was constantly saying, I am losing my mind. A joke? Maybe. But guess what? She literally started experiencing mental health issues. The subconscious doesn't play. It takes every word as law. So what's the fix? Florence says you need to become a lawyer for your own success. Every word that leaves your mouth should be defending your future, not destroying it. If you're affirming wealth, speak it like a fact. If you're affirming health, say it like it's already yours. One of the most powerful affirmations she gives is this: I now smash and demolish, by my spoken word, every untrue record in my subconscious mind. They shall return to the dust heap of their native nothingness, for they came from my own vain imaginings. In other words, destroy every single limiting belief you've ever spoken. Burn it to the ground. Florence tells you to get in the habit of starting your day with powerful declarations. Wake up and say, today is a day of completion. I give thanks for this perfect day. Miracles shall follow miracles, and wonders shall never cease. Try that for a week and watch your life start shifting. And if you don't, if you keep speaking fear, doubt, and struggle, well, then don't be surprised when your life keeps handing you exactly that. Because the universe isn't punishing you, it's just following orders. Key takeaway: your words are spells, and every sentence is either blessing or cursing your life. Choose wisely. Chapter 4: The Law of Non-Resistance. Let's talk about why your life is exhausting. You are constantly fighting, resisting, pushing against things you don't want, and wondering why they keep showing up. Florence is here to tell you something you don't want to hear. You are the reason you're stuck. She calls it the law of non-resistance, and if you don't get this, you'll be forever tangled in an exhausting cycle of stress, conflict, and unnecessary suffering. See, most people believe that if something bad happens, they need to fight back, push through, argue, complain, resist, and struggle. Wrong. The more you fight something, the more power you give it. The more you resist, the bigger the problem gets. It's like quicksand. The harder you struggle, the deeper you sink. Resistance doesn't protect you, it traps you. Florence explains that in reality, there is no evil, only the illusions we create in our own minds. But the moment you believe in two powers, good and bad, you start a war with yourself. You start resisting the very things that are meant to pass through your life effortlessly. She gives a story about a woman who kept running into financial trouble because she resented a business associate. Every time she saw him, she felt poor because he was always talking about lack and failure. So what did she do? She started blaming him for her own struggles. Classic mistake. But then she realized she was the one resisting the situation, feeding into the energy of lack. What did she do instead? She stopped seeing him as an enemy. She blessed him and declared that he was part of her prosperity. And just like that, he faded out of her life, and she met someone through him who gave her thousands of dollars. Here's the truth. The things you hate, the people who annoy you, the circumstances you keep trying to escape, you are keeping them in your life by resisting them. The moment you accept, bless, and let go, they dissolve. Florence gives another example. A woman was stuck in a miserable job with a terrible boss. She kept resisting, complaining, stressing, plotting ways to get back at him, and the job just got worse. Then she stopped fighting. She said, I bless this situation and know that it is working for my good. Within weeks, she was offered a better job. Here's the formula: accept, bless, release, watch miracles unfold. But most people won't do this. They want to fight. They want to resist. They want to hold on to their bitterness, their anger, their I deserve better attitude. And that's why they stay stuck. Florence shares a brilliant example of a man who resisted nothing and always won. He didn't fight problems. He baptized them as success. When he had a failure, he didn't cry about it. He literally declared it a success. And guess what? Everything in his life worked out. You want to know why your life feels like a battlefield? Because you refuse to let go. You think fighting makes you strong, but real power is in surrender. Not weak surrender, strategic surrender. When you stop pushing against a problem, it stops pushing back. Florence gives another example. A woman who was waiting for an important phone call. She resisted every other call, blocking out everything except the one she wanted. Guess what happened? Her phone literally disconnected itself. Her resistance created the very thing she feared, total blockage. The moment she let go and blessed the situation, the call came through. Most people are walking around like emotional porcupines, bristling at anything they don't like, resisting everything they don't want. But here's the secret. What you resist persists. If you don't like something, the fastest way to get rid of it is to stop fighting it. Florence tells you straight up, the person who resists nothing cannot be touched. You become untouchable, unstoppable, unshakable when you stop engaging in battles that don't need to be fought. The takeaway: stop fighting everything, bless it, release it, and watch it lose power over you. Chapter 5: The Law of Karma and the Law of Forgiveness. Let's be real, you're not getting away with anything. Every thought, every word, every action you put out into the world is coming back to you. Maybe not today, maybe not tomorrow, but at some point it's swinging back around like a boomerang with your name on it. And when it hits, don't act surprised, you threw it. Florence calls this the law of karma, but forget the watered down, pop culture version of karma that makes it sound like some instant cosmic punishment for stealing someone's parking spot. No, karma is your own personal cause and effect system, tailor-made by you. Everything in your life, good, bad, or ugly, is the result of what you've thought, spoken, or done at some point. She breaks it down like this: whatsoever a man soweth, that shall he also reap. Translation: you cannot plant weeds and expect roses. If your life is full of drama, conflict, and lack, it's because at some point, that's what you planted, whether you realized it or not. One of her friends discovered this the hard way. She admitted that she constantly snapped at her aunt, telling her to be quiet during meals. The next day, she was at lunch with someone she wanted to impress, talking animatedly, when that person turned to her and said, "No more talk, I wish to eat in peace." The universe doesn't miss. But here's the real kicker. The more aware you are of these spiritual laws, the faster karma works for you. If you're clueless, your bad karma might take years to show up. But the moment you know better and still choose wrong, the universe speeds up your lessons. But don't panic just yet. Florence gives you a get out of karma free card, and it's called forgiveness. Because here's something people don't get. Karma is not some cruel, unavoidable fate. You can cancel it. If you recognize your mistakes, take responsibility, and truly forgive yourself and others, you can wipe the slate clean. She gives a perfect example. A woman lost $2,000 after lending it to a relative who conveniently forgot to return it. She was furious, bitter, and convinced that she'd never see the money again. And guess what? As long as she held on to that resentment, she didn't. But then she decided to forgive, truly forgive, and declared, "There is no loss in divine mind. What is mine by divine right must return to me." Soon after, an unexpected opportunity arose, and she was handed exactly $2,000. Let's be honest, most of you are holding on to grudges like they're some kind of twisted trophy. You think you're punishing the other person by staying angry? No, you're punishing yourself. Every ounce of resentment, every grudge, every bitter thought is clogging your ability to receive good things. Florence tells the story of a woman who was desperate to get married, but held so much anger towards men that every single relationship she had crashed and burned. Why? Because you cannot attract what you secretly despise. The moment she let go of that anger, forgave the past, and declared love instead of resentment, boom, the right man showed up. She even warns about using spiritual laws selfishly. A woman fixated on a certain house wanted it so badly that she mentally envisioned herself living there every single day. Eventually, the owner died, and she got the house. But karma, it didn't forget. Shortly after, her beloved husband died too. Florence makes it clear, you cannot force things that aren't yours without paying the price. The right way to manifest is to say, if this is mine by divine right, I accept it. If not, I accept its equivalent. And if you think you're off the hook just because you didn't mean to do harm, think again. The universe doesn't care about your intentions. It only responds to what you actually put out. One woman jokingly sent a friend some fake stage money, thinking it was funny. Soon after, she received a fake $20 bill at a bank. Karma doesn't have a sense of humor. It just follows orders. So what's the way out? Forgiveness, intentionality, and releasing the past. You are not doomed. You are not stuck. You just need to stop feeding the cycle of negativity and start planting better seeds. Florence says it best. Man cannot force the external to be what he is not. If you want better, be better. The key takeaway: karma is real, but forgiveness can erase it. If you want to change your life, start by changing what you put out into the world. Chapter 6. Casting the burden, impressing the subconscious. You're carrying way too much crap. And no, I don't mean your overflowing inbox, your bad decisions, or the baggage from your last relationship. Though, let's be real, that too. I mean mental burdens, fear, doubt, resentment, guilt, and stress, all of which you have no business carrying in the first place. You act like life is a never-ending struggle, but Florence Scovel Shinn is here to tell you, struggle is a choice, and more importantly, it's a dumb one. This chapter is all about casting the burden, which, if you have even an ounce of common sense, you'll start doing immediately. The idea is simple. You don't have to carry your problems, you can give them up. No, this isn't about pretending everything is fine while drowning in stress. This is about handing your problems over to a higher power, God, the universe, whatever you call it, and actually believing that they're being handled. Florence backs this up with the Bible, reminding us that Jesus said, "Come unto me, all ye that labor and are heavy laden, and I will give you rest." Translation: drop the dead weight, stop micromanaging your miracles, and let the divine take care of it. One of her students, a woman drowning in financial worry, put this to the test. She was broke, desperate, and ready to spiral into full-blown panic mode, but instead of freaking out, she said out loud, "I cast this burden of lack on the Christ within, and I go free to have plenty." And guess what? Within days, money started flowing in out of nowhere. No hustling, no begging, no grinding, just pure faith and release. Here's why this works. Your subconscious is a powerhouse, but it listens to your beliefs. If you're constantly stressing about money, love, or success, your subconscious takes that as a command to keep you struggling. But when you cast the burden, you tell your subconscious, "This isn't my problem anymore, handle it." And it does. Florence gives another example of a woman who is completely paralyzed by resentment. She had been holding on to bitterness for so long that it was physically affecting her life. She was tense, miserable, and trapped in a cycle of negativity. Then she did something radical. She declared, "I cast this burden of resentment on the Christ within, and I go free to be loving, harmonious, and happy." At first, nothing happened, but she kept repeating it again and again and again, until suddenly, she felt lighter. Her resentment dissolved, her energy shifted, and her entire life began to change. That's how powerful this is. You have to understand, your subconscious does not respond to effort, it responds to surrender. You can't force change. You can't wrestle your problems into submission. The harder you push, the harder life pushes back. But the moment you let go, things fall into place. Florence compares this to lifting a heavy boulder. On Earth, it weighs you down, but if you take it into space, it becomes weightless. That's exactly what happens when you cast your burdens on a higher power. You remove the weight of resistance, and suddenly things become easy. And no, this isn't some passive, sit back and do nothing approach. It's about acting from a place of faith, not fear. If you truly believe your problems are being handled, you move through life differently. You stop forcing, stop stressing, and start trusting. And when you do that, miracles happen. Florence tells the story of a woman who was overwhelmed with worry about an important phone call. She had been waiting anxiously, checking the phone every 5 seconds, convinced that something was blocking the call. Then, she remembered to cast the burden. She said, "I cast this burden of worry on the Christ within, and I go free to receive my good." Minutes later, the phone rang. Coincidence, not a chance. She stopped resisting and the flow opened up. Most of you are out here trying to control everything, gripping your problems so tightly that you choke out any possibility of a solution. Florence is telling you straight up, you're the one blocking your blessings. The universe is trying to hand you what you want, but your constant worrying, doubting, and stressing is slamming the door in its face. Here's the formula. Identify the burden, give it up, trust, move forward, repeat. The key takeaway: the more you struggle, the harder life gets. The moment you let go, life starts working for you. Chapter 7. Love. You think you know what love is, but let's be honest, you don't. You mistake attachment for love. You confuse jealousy with devotion. You mix up control with care. And worst of all, you demand love while giving out fear, insecurity, and selfishness. No wonder your relationships are a mess. Florence lays it down straight. Real love is selfless, fearless, and magnetic. It is not manipulative, desperate, or based on conditions. It does not beg. It does not grasp. It does not chase. If you're doing any of those things, congratulations, you are pushing love away faster than you can say, but I just want them to text me back. She explains that love is the strongest magnetic force in the universe. You don't have to force it, you don't have to scheme, and you don't have to play games. It comes to you when you are in alignment with it. But here's the problem. Most people are completely out of alignment. Take the woman who came to Florence heartbroken and bitter. Her man had left her for someone else, and she was furious. She said she hoped he would suffer like she had. Florence didn't sugarcoat it. She hit her with the truth. You are not loving this man. You are hating him. And here's the universal rule. You cannot receive what you refuse to give. If you hold on to bitterness, you will only receive more things to be bitter about. If you radiate jealousy, you will attract more situations that trigger jealousy. If you walk around afraid of losing someone, you will manifest that loss. Florence had this woman do something radical. She told her to bless the man instead of cursing him, to wish him happiness, to send out real, selfless love. The woman resisted at first because, hello, she was still pissed, but she did it anyway. Slowly, her pain lifted, her energy shifted, and then she met someone else who adored her. That's how love works. You can't trick the universe into giving you something you aren't ready to receive. She shares another example of a woman obsessed with a certain man. She wanted him so badly that she begged Florence to speak the word to make him fall in love with her. Florence refused. Why? Because forcing love is a violation of spiritual law. Instead, she told the woman, if this is the right man, you cannot lose him. And if he isn't, you will receive his equivalent. At first, the woman was furious, but then a funny thing happened. Her obsession faded. The man she had been pining over didn't seem so wonderful anymore, and soon after, she met someone else who treated her exactly how she had always dreamed of being treated. That's the law of substitution in action. When you let go of the wrong thing, the right thing can finally show up. But here's what most people do. They cling, they panic, they try to control everything. They think love is something they have to chase. Wrong. Love is something you become. When you are full of love, real, unselfish, fearless love, you will attract love naturally. She warns that the biggest destroyer of love is jealousy. The moment you let your imagination run wild with insecurity, you create exactly what you fear. Florence gives an example of a woman who constantly worried about her man being attracted to other women. She imagined it so vividly, obsessed over it so intensely that, surprise, he left her for another woman. You cannot keep love with fear. You cannot hold on to someone with guilt, manipulation, or desperation. The only way to have love is to give love. She even gives a practical exercise. She tells people to literally see their partner or the love they want as perfect. No criticism, no doubt, no fear, just pure, fearless love. She tells the story of a spiritual brotherhood in India where they never said good morning to each other. Instead, they greeted one another with, I salute the divinity in you. Imagine if you treated your relationships that way. If instead of focusing on flaws, fears, or past wounds, you only saw the divine, perfect love in the other person. That's what keeps love alive. That's what attracts the right kind of relationships in the first place. The bottom line? If you are needy, bitter, insecure, or manipulative, you will only attract love that reflects that energy. But if you are whole, joyful, and full of real love, you will receive love that mirrors exactly that. The key takeaway: you don't chase love, you become love, and then love chases you. Chapter 8: Intuition or Guidance. You're making your life 10 times harder than it needs to be. No, seriously. You stress over decisions, agonize over the right move, flip-flop between options, and overthink everything into oblivion. And meanwhile, your intuition already knows exactly what to do. Florence makes it painfully clear. You're not supposed to figure everything out with logic alone. If you're still relying on spreadsheets, endless pros and cons lists, and waiting for a sign, congratulations. You're ignoring the greatest superpower you have, your intuition. Intuition is not some mystical nonsense. It's your direct line to the divine. It's the inner voice that always knows the fastest, smartest, and most effortless way to what you want. The problem? Most people don't listen. They either A, ignore it completely, B, second guess it into uselessness, or C, talk themselves out of it because their tiny, fearful ego can't handle the idea of trusting something they can't explain. But here's the deal. Every great success story is built on intuition. Every genius, every innovator, every world changer got there by following inner guidance that made no logical sense at the time. The telephone was seeking Bell. The radio was seeking Marconi. The electric light was seeking Edison. They weren't grinding their brains into the ground trying to figure it out. They were open to being led. Florence tells the story of a woman who needed money, fast. Instead of panicking, she said, "Infinite Spirit, open the way for my immediate supply. Let all that is mine by divine right now reach me in great avalanches of abundance." Then she asked for a lead. Not a forced action, a lead. A thought popped into her head. Give $100 to someone who had helped her spiritually. She hesitated. Was this really the right move? Then she met a woman who told her, "I gave someone $1 today. It was as much for me as it would be for you to give $100. That was her confirmation. She gave the money, and guess what? Shortly after, she received a large sum of money in a completely unexpected way. Coincidence? No. She followed guidance, and it led her straight to her supply. Most people block intuition because they are too scared to act on it. They get a nudge, an idea, an inspiration, and then they choke. But what if it's wrong? But what if people think I'm crazy? But what if it doesn't make sense? And so they do nothing, and nothing happens. She gives another example of a man who wanted a new job. Instead of scrambling and applying everywhere like a desperate fool, he simply said, "Infinite Spirit, open the way for my right position. Show me where I belong." He waited, he listened, and then, boom, he got a clear lead to a company he hadn't even considered. He followed it, and within days, he had his dream job. Here's the thing. When you truly listen, intuition is never vague. It doesn't mumble, it doesn't stutter, it speaks in clear, direct signals. Sometimes it's a strong feeling, sometimes it's a random thought that won't go away. Sometimes it's a chance encounter, a book passage, or a song lyric that hits you like a ton of bricks. The universe is always talking to you. The real question is, are you actually listening? Florence warns against looking for answers in the wrong places. She flat out tells you, stay away from horoscopes, psychics, and fortune tellers. Why? Because they keep you stuck on the mental plane, the level of fear, confusion, and mixed signals. Real guidance doesn't come from guessing games or outside sources. It comes from within. A woman once asked Florence how to make the right decisions. Florence's answer? "I am always under direct inspiration. I make right decisions quickly." She told the woman to repeat this daily, and soon, indecision was no longer a problem. Another example, a woman needed a job. She didn't beg, she didn't force, she simply said, "Infinite Spirit, open the way." Soon after, she was offered 3 jobs at once. Overwhelmed, she asked for a clear lead. That night, she woke up smelling Palm Beach, a city where one of the job offers was located. That was her sign. She took the job, and it turned out to be exactly what she needed. This is how life works when you trust intuition. You don't chase, you don't force, you ask, listen, and follow. And when you do, things start falling into place so effortlessly it feels like magic. The key takeaway: your intuition already knows the fastest way to your desires. Stop overthinking, start listening, and follow the lead. Chapter 9. Perfect self-expression or the divine design. You are wasting your potential. No, really. You were born with a specific purpose, a perfect role, a destiny that only you can fulfill. And yet, instead of stepping into it, you're stuck in a dead-end job, playing it safe, doubting yourself, and listening to people who have no business giving you advice. Florence doesn't sugarcoat this. There is a perfect place for you, and the only reason you haven't found it is because you keep ignoring the signs. You've been conditioned to believe that life is about doing what's practical, settling for what's available, and working hard to earn your worth. Wrong. Your perfect self-expression isn't something you grind for, it's something you align with. She lays it out like this. There is a divine design for your life, and when you follow it, everything falls into place. Money, handled, opportunities, they flow, work, feels like play. The problem? Most people have wandered so far from their divine design that they don't even recognize it anymore. One woman, after declaring her desire for her true purpose, experienced what Florence called a cyclone in her life. Everything fell apart. Her job, her relationships, even her living situation crumbled in a matter of weeks. But guess what? It wasn't destruction, it was a readjustment. She had been clinging to the wrong life, and once she finally let go, the right one could take its place. You might be terrified of losing what you have, but here's the truth. If something isn't truly yours by divine right, it will never bring you peace. And the moment you align with your true path, everything that's yours will chase you. Take the man who had only 7 cents to his name. He came to Florence, gave her 1 cent, and said, I believe in the power of your spoken word. Speak for my perfect self-expression. She did. A year later, he walked back into her class successful, wealthy, and thriving. His divine design had found him because he finally made room for it. Most people fail at this because they think self-expression has to look a certain way. They believe success means a high-powered career or a big public image. Florence shuts that down fast. Your purpose might be a world-changing invention or a life of service. It might be a career in the spotlight or the quiet, powerful role of being the backbone of a family. Whatever it is uniquely yours, and nothing else will satisfy you. And no, you don't have to figure it out. That's another lie you've been sold. Your divine design isn't something you create, it's something you receive. Florence tells you to demand definite leads. Instead of forcing your way into something that makes sense, say, Infinite Spirit, open the way for my divine design to manifest. Let the genius within me now be released. Then, watch for signs. Inspiration will flash across your mind. The right people will show up. An idea will light you up inside. That's your cue. Take it. But here's where people screw up. They doubt. They hesitate, they let logic talk them out of it. They take a safe route instead of trusting the one their soul already knows is right. Florence warns, if you ignore your gifts, you will pay for it. The man who buried his talents in the Bible, that's a warning for all of us. You do not get to waste your potential and escape the consequences. She gives the example of a young boy who asked for help passing his exams. She told him to affirm, I am one with infinite intelligence. I know everything I need to know. He passed his math test with the highest score, but failed history. Why? Because he thought he could rely on his own effort instead of divine guidance. That's the lesson. The moment you start thinking, I got this, without trusting in divine wisdom, you fall. Florence also warns about parents who force their kids into the wrong paths. Just because your child has a talent doesn't mean it's their destiny. Parents should be speaking divine guidance over their children from birth, not forcing them into their own unfulfilled dreams. A child's purpose can be affirmed even before birth. Let the God in this child have perfect expression. Let the divine design of his life be made manifest throughout eternity. Most of you have no idea what you're truly capable of. You are limiting yourself based on what you think is possible, instead of aligning with what is meant for you. The telephone wasn't seeking a random person, it was seeking Bell. The electric light was seeking Edison. The airplane was seeking the Wright brothers. What is seeking you? The universe is literally trying to hand you your best life, but you're too busy doubting, delaying, and choosing mediocrity over magic. You either step into your divine design or waste your life settling. The key takeaway: You have a perfect purpose, and the only thing keeping you from it is you. Get out of your own way. Chapter 10. Denials and affirmations. You talk too much. And worse, you don't even realize that half the stuff coming out of your mouth is ruining your life. Every complaint, every doubt, every casual "I can't," "I'm broke," or "nothing ever works out for me" is a verbal contract binding you to a reality you don't even want. Florence is here to slap some sense into you. Words are powerful, words create, and if you don't control them, they will control you. Denials and affirmations are the tools to rewrite your reality, to delete the nonsense clogging up your subconscious and replace it with thoughts that actually serve you. But let's get something straight. This isn't some fluffy, positive thinking exercise. If you do this half-heartedly, mumbling affirmations while secretly doubting them, you will get nowhere. Florence lays it down simply. Denials erase the garbage, and affirmations build the new foundation. Imagine your mind is a garden. Right now, it's probably overrun with weeds, limiting beliefs, fears, past failures, and straight up garbage you've absorbed from other people. You can't just plant roses on top of weeds and expect them to thrive. You have to pull out the junk first. That's what denials do. Florence warns that most people accidentally affirm failure all the time without even realizing it. You might be saying you want success, but if your inner dialogue is full of "nothing ever works out for me," guess what? You're speaking that into existence. She gives a perfect example. A woman desperately needed money. She kept affirming, "I want $1,000. Eventually, she got it, but it came in the worst possible way. Her daughter was injured, and they received $1,000 in insurance money. The lesson? You must be precise with your words. She should have said, "I give thanks that the $1,000, which is mine by divine right, now reaches me under grace in a perfect way." Your subconscious takes everything literally. If you ask for money but don't specify that you want it in a perfect, effortless way, the universe might just hand it to you wrapped in chaos. Denials are where you start. They cancel out the garbage. If you've been thinking "I'm always broke," you don't just slap on an affirmation and hope for the best. You first deny the lie. Every thought of lack is now dissolved. I erase all false beliefs in struggle and limitation. There is no lack in divine mind, therefore there is no lack in my life. Once the weeds are gone, then you affirm, you plant the truth. Florence gives some of the most powerful affirmations you'll ever read. God is my unfailing supply, and large sums of money come to me quickly, under grace, in perfect ways. Divine love now dissolves and dissipates every wrong condition in my mind, body, and affairs. I am divinely sensitive to my intuitive leads and give instant obedience to divine direction. I have a perfect work in a perfect way. I give perfect service for perfect pay. And let's talk about repetition. You don't say an affirmation once and expect miracles. You hammer it in. You repeat it like your life depends on it, because it does. Your subconscious mind only believes what it hears consistently. She shares a story about a woman who used an affirmation for perfect work. She repeated, "I have a wonderful work in a wonderful way. I give wonderful service for wonderful pay." She sang it, lived it, breathed it, and soon, she had a job that exceeded all her expectations. Another man did the same thing but substituted business instead of work. That same afternoon, he closed a $41,000 deal. Coincidence? No. That's the law in action. But here's where most people mess up. They affirm something once, then go right back to doubting. Florence makes it clear. Faith and fear cannot exist in the same space. If you affirm prosperity, but then complain about your bills, you just cancelled out your own manifestation. This is why denials are just as important as affirmations. If you don't erase the old beliefs, they will keep overriding your new ones. She even warns about the subconscious limits we place on ourselves. If you think $600 is all you can receive, then that's all you'll get, even if the universe was ready to hand you $1,000. She gives the example of a man who asked for $600 and got it, but later found out he had almost received $1,000. His own belief system limited his blessing. This is why she tells you to expand your expectations. Stop asking for small things. Demand what is yours by divine right. The universe is not limited, you are. Florence leaves us with the final, most important lesson. Your words are law. Use them wisely. The key takeaway: your words shape your reality. Deny what you don't want, affirm what you do, and say it like you mean it. Conclusion: if you've made it this far and you're still planning to go back to your old ways, complaining about life, doubting yourself, and ignoring the fact that you are the one creating your reality, then I don't know what to tell you. Actually, no, I do. You are choosing to lose. Florence just handed you the cheat codes to life. She broke down, piece by piece, exactly why you are where you are and exactly how to fix it. And yet, some of you will still ignore it, argue with it, or hesitate to actually apply it. Let's be clear, this isn't theory. These aren't nice ideas. This is the law. It has been working for and against you this entire time. The only question is, are you going to start using it on purpose? Because here's the truth. Your life is not a random mess of luck, fate, or coincidence. It is a direct reflection of your thoughts, words, beliefs, and actions. You are either playing the game with intention, or you are being played by it. You now know how to win. You know that life isn't a battle. It's a game of energy, words, and belief. You know that prosperity isn't about luck. It's about alignment. You know that your words are spells. Every sentence you speak is shaping your future. You know that resistance keeps you stuck. The more you fight, the harder life fights back. You know that karma is real, but forgiveness erases it. You know that struggle is optional. When you cast the burden, life moves in your favor. You know that love is magnetic. Desperation repels it. Fear kills it. You know that your intuition is your GPS. Stop ignoring it. You know that your divine design is waiting for you, but you have to step into it. You know that words either make or break your life. Deny the garbage. Affirm the truth. So what are you going to do now? Are you going to let this book be just another thing you read? Are you going to nod along, feel inspired for 5 minutes, and then go right back to your old failing habits? Or are you actually going to play the game and win? Because let me tell you something. The winners are the ones who take action. The ones who don't just read about affirmations, but actually speak them. The ones who don't just hope for guidance, but actually listen to it. The ones who don't just wish for prosperity, but actually align themselves with it. Florence didn't write this book for people who want to stay the same. She wrote it for the ones who are ready to wake up and start claiming the life that is already theirs. If that's you, then great. If not, well, enjoy playing life on hard mode. And if you're serious about this, get the book, read it again, mark it up, speak the affirmations, apply the laws, because knowledge means nothing if you don't use it. Life is waiting. What are you going to do about it?